Do you love this podcast? Well, did you know that you can listen to it on Spotify while still enjoying your favorite tunes? That's right. I'm on Spotify. You can find me right beside Dixie Chicks, Dexter Guff. It's easy. Just look for the podcast section within the Browse tab on your mobile device or search for your favorite shows. To find more podcasts, head to spotify.com/podcasts. I'm on Spotify. Welcome to Dexter Guff is Smarter Than You, and you can be too. The self-empowerment podcast where I share with you proven strategies to help you live an amazing life exactly like mine, except it's yours. Going to start the show off today with a dedication. And you know that when Dex Guff gives a dedication, it's a pretty big deal. I've only dedicated my show, episodes of my show, to a handful of a very select group of individuals in the past. The Pope was one. The new Pope, not the old one, not John Paul, the new guy. David Beckham, of course. Dee Chopra, a good friend Dee Chopra put dedication out for him. And Gwyneth Paltrow, she kills it. She just does. And of course the Raphael brothers, the founders of Arby's. And so this dedication is to somebody who's equally held in that regard. And of course, I'm speaking about Sharon Doyle, who I had the opportunity to spend some quality time with at the Crushing It in Sacramento conference this week. Sharon, you are impressive. What an incredible speaker. You blew me away. You really did. Your talk on how to be more important resonated deeply with me, but even more importantly, just sharing that early evening walk on the Sacramento River together and making that pact that we're going to have that dinner. Don't have a date, don't have a place. Just going to get back to me on that one, but we are going to have dinner, and that's great. I'm excited. So Sharon, if you're listening, this episode is for you. Tammy, that's your cue.
Let's do this.
D. This is going to be fun. I dare you to listen. It's time. E. On your mental treadmill, what takes priority? Your goals or your dreams?
Dexter Guff.
X.
Technology, entertainment, design. Throw that out the window. That's old news.
Are you kidding me? Come on now. What was your biggest failure? No. Let me guess. I don't think you're ready.
I'm Dexter Guff, and I'm smarter than you.
Sorry, guys. Sorry for that delay on the firing of the theme. Our good friend Tammy fell asleep at the wheel a little bit. Caught her drifting across the lane, headlights in her face. It's okay, Tammy. It's okay. No, it's okay. I would ask maybe that we all take a moment here, just give some kind, healing thoughts to Tammy. It's been a very difficult week. Her son, Connor, this kid's a real disaster. Absolute disaster. It's gone from being temporarily suspended to a full-on expulsion. Sorry, Tammy, I don't mean to hit this too heavy, but he's a disaster. And so our thoughts today should go out to Tammy as well. So Tammy, although it's not an episode dedication to you, we're at least taking a minute in the episode to think of you. So that should hopefully lift your spirits at least a little bit. Because I know that she was also down that I had such a good time in Sacramento. Okay, so let's talk about the show, because we have got a great show for you today. And by we, I really mean me. I put a lot of me into this show, and that's why I'm so excited about it, because I'm here. I'm in it. The theme of the show is creating your own bubble. And now, I've been somebody who's been able to live in my own bubble for 7 years, uninterrupted. That bubble hasn't popped. Why is it important to live in a bubble? Because you need to be able to shut out all of the people outside of you that ultimately do not matter. Tammy, listen to this. That do not matter, and focus on yourself inside your bubble. To that end, we are talking to my main man, a very good friend, one of the guys I absolutely love to hang with whenever I'm not in the studio or on the road or on a plane or giving a lecture. Of course, I'm talking about my main man, Russell Durant, who literally wrote the book on living in your own bubble. And I don't mean that figuratively. His book is called Living in Your Own Bubble. So he did write that book. And I'm going to be here to talk to him about that book. And you're hopefully going to be here to listen to us talk about that book. Okay, but before we do that, of course, it's time to step into the Thought Palace, because I'll tell you what, I've got a thought that I'm ready to release. What's a bubble? What are they for? Do we all have a bubble? Do we have a bubble that we're proud of? Let me tell you this. People come up to me all the time and they say, Dex, it's like you're living in a bubble. It's like, honestly, nothing from the outside world gets in. It's like you are the boy in the bubble. And I say, thank you. Absolutely I am. Absolutely I am. I've worked very hard for the last 7 years on creating this impenetrable bubble. And people always think it's about what's inside the bubble. But here's the big secret. It's not. It's about what I'm keeping out. And that can be different for every person. For me, I can give you a handful of things that I keep outside my bubble. Naysayers, whiners, people that hug too long, poke restaurants. I hate those. Outside the bubble. At times, the IRS. You've got to do it sometimes. The guys that I went to college with at St. Mike's from the a cappella group who are constantly haranguing me. Please, Neil, stop calling. Outside the bubble. Thank you. My brother Kevin, constantly looking for money. Go see mom and dad, Kevin. You're outside the bubble right now. Couples with kids. All of these are outside my bubble. And the reason that they are is so that I can focus on what I need to focus on, which is me, which is Dex, so that I can bring you the show that I'm bringing you. And so the question is for you, do you have a bubble? And if so, what's on the outside? And if you're not sure if you have a bubble, then you better figure this one out. And here's an exercise for you. The next time you're at a restaurant and the waiter comes over and says, how are your first bites? Just don't respond. Be in your bubble. Enjoy your meal. We're not there to placate the waiter. The next time that you're in the boardroom and people are asking you for a bunch of stuff that you honestly don't care about, just don't say anything. Build your bubble. The next time you're at the valet, there's no reason to have a verbal exchange. Throw the keys, get out of there. Build your bubble. And what you're going to find over time is that you've put around yourself an impenetrable shell to ignore all of those things that you honestly don't care about. Now, an interesting thing happened to me in Sacramento, actually, very recently. It was a discovery that I made that sometimes you might come across another bubble that's just like yours. And maybe it's a bubble that wants to ignore the same things that you want to ignore, finds the same things annoying that you find annoying, people who hug too long. And then it's a question. Can those two bubbles become one? I know that science says they can. Bubbles can join. But in the real world, can they join and become a power bubble? Maybe a bubble that can do a lot of work together, but also have a lot of fun together. Maybe travel. And down the road, you have that conversation. Do we have little bubbles? Is it in our future? But I don't want to get ahead of myself. The point is, everybody needs a bubble. And if you don't have one, you better start building one. Because the truth is, at the end of the day, bubbles are bliss. And that's my thought release. All right, very excited. Very soon we will be talking to Russell Durant. Cannot wait to be joined by Russell Durant. But before we do that, I have to take care of some business. And by business, I literally mean business. This is the business of the show. And that, of course, is our sponsor. Today's sponsor, personal favorite. Use these guys all the time. If you're thinking flowers, it's the only way to get them. I'm talking about drone flowers. What's that in the sky? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's drone flowers. Surprise that special someone by dropping a fresh-cut custom floral arrangement on her doorstep courtesy of a CB300 4-prop ghost drone. Life is full of surprises, but is there any better surprise than flowers falling from the sky? I don't think so. Drone flowers. What's up? Flowers. That's who's sponsoring today's episode. Love those guys. Appreciate the sponsorship. Now, let's jump into today's feature interview. It's that time. It is that time, and this is something, and I hope that you're ready to have a good time. I know that I am because I'm here. I'm looking at this guy.
I'm already looking at you, buddy. I'm already looking at you.
I'm sorry. I don't know what it is about. Looking at you, I just want to laugh.
Yeah.
My good friend, my very good friend, been friends for a long time, most of this year. My good friend.
Majority of the year.
Russell Durant. Russell, welcome to the big show.
But I got to tell you, Dex, it is an absolute honor to be here. I mean, there are very, very few places, and I literally mean this.
Yeah.
I literally mean this. There are very few places that I'd rather be right now than
Right.
here. And I literally mean that.
I know one of them, Dumont's. Am I right?
Naturally.
Dumont's. That's actually where we met. Funny story.
Go ahead. You start it, I'll piggyback on it, and then you finish it.
I'll tell you what, nothing makes me happier than getting piggybacked by Mr. Durant himself.
Come on.
Dumont's, I have a standing reservation Thursday nights. Always have had it, last 7 years. It's one of my favorite places to go. I walk into Dumont's. I always have a corner booth that I sit in. Someone's in that booth.
And that someone is me, by the way.
And I'm like, WTF, what is going on here?
Right, exactly. And by the way, side note, I always thought WTF meant, well, that's fine. That's what I always thought it meant until recently.
It doesn't?
It does not. It does not at all. So I'm sitting in the booth by the back there, and he walks up. Never seen this fellow before in my life.
Exactly. So I'm all out of sorts. I have Keith sit me at a different part of the restaurant.
And that's here. Now here's the part that I did not plan, because as soon as you turned around, I thought, I've taken this guy's table, so let me go to a different part of the restaurant.
Exactly.
You go to that part, and then here I come to sit where you are now sitting.
So now I'm seated. They've already got a Shadow Nif to Pop 84 to my table, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to move now. This has been cracked.
Right.
So both of us are side by side looking at the table that we both want to sit in.
And this is one of those. And this is one of those moments that I tell my audiences when I speak to them. I know you haven't introduced me yet, but I got to get through this.
Doesn't matter.
This is one of those moments that I tell my audiences when I speak to. This is one of those times when you actually do agree to disagree.
Absolutely.
And then agree about the disagreement.
That's
and
right.
We shared the table.
We shared the table.
Long story
we
short.
ate family style, had some tagliatelle. I went with the bolognese. Your call. It's delicious.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
And,
wonderful bolognese.
And that's how we met.
That's it.
And
That's
I can't
it.
remember who paid for that.
Neither of us. If I'm not mistaken.
Boom.
Neither of us paid
Russell
that.
Durant, I love this guy.
What an amazing. When you that story it literally takes me back there.
Well, listen, Russell, you know I treat you like family. I feel you treat me like family.
come on now.
And from one brother to another brother here, I want to ask you this.
Oh, please.
Your book is huge. It is huge.
That's not much of a question, but I appreciate it.
It starts with a statement. It'll end in a question. Tell me a little bit about what prompted you to write the book, and more importantly, what do bubbles mean to you?
First off, thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely.
The book, of course, I think most people know it, is in its third print right now.
Of course.
Living in Your Own Bubble.
That's right.
And what do bubbles mean to me? From a very young age, I realized that I was not exactly like the other children.
Right.
I found comfort in myself. I found what I needed in myself.
Absolutely.
And there were certain people, and I say this in the book. I say this in the book, chapter 17. I tell about my emancipation. I had myself emancipated from my parents at the age of 12. I realized that they didn't give me what I needed to succeed at the age of 12.
And just so that people realize, that is in chapter 17.
That's
so you can
17.
imagine exactly, we're really with Russell from birth up until that point.
Exactly.
The early part of that book really talks on the very beginnings of your life.
Exactly.
And I love that, Russell.
Yeah,
I love that.
But it was at that point in my life when I realized I don't need this. I don't need this. These people are a distraction to me.
Yes.
They're not bringing into my life what I need to succeed. And so I was able to have myself emancipated from them when I was very, very young. And since then, I've helped other people surround themselves in a bubble. Now, by bubble, what do I mean?
Exactly. What do you mean?
A bubble, think of that. It's very strong. It's
is.
very secure.
Okay.
It really is. But you can see the outside world. You can see all the other distractions.
Well, you can see through it.
You can see right through it and decide what needs to be in your world and what doesn't need to be in your world.
So tell us a little bit about what's in the bubble, what's out of the bubble.
What's in the bubble bubble is me, my thoughts, and my needs.
Okay.
What's outside the bubble is everything's trying to stop me from my thoughts and my needs.
Okay.
And I keep it out there.
What types of things are out there? Is there anybody that you'd like to sort of throw some shade on? Okay.
Like, for instance, my doctor, and this is a very simple one, just to help the simplest people understand exactly where I'm coming. My doctor says I need to get a checkup every year. Think about that.
What is the point?
What's going to happen in a year?
Not much.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly. So you have to know those things that are just a distraction. He's trying to get something from me that I don't need from him.
He's just trying to fill up his day with something to do, quite honestly.
Exactly. We know our greatest truths ourselves.
Yeah.
If the only time that you're wrong is when someone else tells you you're wrong.
And
the only time you break a law is when someone tells you you're breaking a law. If I'm in my McLaren,
Right.
you and I,
We were in there.
if we are in there and we are driving as fast as we can and no one is there to tell us that's wrong, that is not
It's
wrong.
not wrong.
That is our reality.
That is
It's our
absolutely
reality.
right. Now, listen, skimming through a couple of the other things in your book, because there's so much meat in there. How do you take somebody that doesn't live in a bubble? How do you get them into the paradise that is the bubbledom?
But I do a lot of what I call background research. Say, Tammy, you're a music lady. Yeah?
Okay.
Before I meet anyone, I make sure that I know everything there is to know about them. And I find out all the people that they need to take out of their lives
Oh my
to make their bubble stronger.
Right.
So then I will then help them by maybe imparting a bit of negative information about that person to show that that person isn't necessarily that great in their lives.
You got to illuminate it. You got to illuminate it. You got to shed some light on that and
Shed
say,
light on it.
hello, this is
Exactly.
outside your bubble.
This is outside your bubble, and this is
Okay.
not bringing you something positive in.
Okay, a couple things I want to touch on.
Oh, please, Dad.
And I hate to do this in front of everybody else, a bit of a personal story for me, but about two bubbles joining. When do you know is the right time to do that?
That first of all, that's almost impossible to know. But I will tell you this.
Right.
With enough force and enough pressure, two bubbles easily become one bubble. But there is that possibility of two bubbles trying to collide and bursting, and that's what you don't want.
And is it something that I should try to, like, would that be something I'd do over a nice dinner, or is that more of an afternoon thing, like a coffee?
See, what you sound like right now is that you're trying to force it. You're trying to force that bubble collision.
Okay.
Okay. May I make a suggestion to you?
Yeah.
Strengthen your bubble first before you allow another bubble.
I thought my bubble's strong.
You have, out of all the people I know,
Okay.
and I can say this with certainty,
Please tell me you know a lot of people.
I know a lot of people.
Okay.
You perhaps have the second strongest bubble of anyone I know. First being me.
Your words mean so much to me. I'm so glad you were here today. I learned, I'm not going to say a lot, because a lot of this I knew. A lot of this I know intuitively. But I think for a lot of the people at home, they took a lot from this.
They took a lot from it. I'm going to do something that I have never done. I'm going to permanently invite you into my bubble. I mean, I feel that strong about our relationship. Yes. I feel that strong about our relationship. This is our bubble. This is our bubble. And you know what? The outside world be damned.
Russell Durant, such a treat to have you in here. Always a pleasure. I mean, I say always, but at the same time, this is the first time.
Right.
Not sure that you'll be back. Can't promise that. Have such a long list of people that I really got to get on this program.
Understood.
Had a cancellation at the last. Here you are. And so glad that we could do this.
I could not be happier. I could not. I haven't felt this good.
Yeah.
Since the day that I told my psychiatrist, screw you, I don't need you anymore. That's the last time I felt this good.
I bet that was Rob Feinstein.
Rob Feinstein.
Yeah.
Rob Feinstein.
I said that 7 years ago to that guy.
Oh, same.
Oh, incredible. We are in the same bubble.
My goodness.
Oh, man. Two bubbles collided, made one big thought bubble. I love it.
That's wonderful.
Russell, my man. Incredible. Boom. That's how that dynamite blew. That was incredible. Nicely done, Russell. Anytime. Now, we are going to read a few questions that I received on Twitter this week. A lot of interesting questions. Going to get to those. But before we do, quick announcement. I will be canceling this week's Dexter Guff meetup. Sorry, guys. We're not doing any hang sesh. got to leave this week free. Sharon said maybe this week might work for dinner. Want to leave it free. I want to honor her. Because that's what this episode's about. This was her episode. Got to honor that. So, Sharon, if you're listening, this week's wide open. Let's do dinner. If we can, please. Let's have a date or set the date. We set a date for dinner. Okay. So it's that time for me to answer some questions that have come in on Twitter and as well by email. Please send me your questions. I do read every message that I get. I'm very happy to answer as many as I can here on the show. Great to hear from you, my listeners. So here we go with answers for today's questions. Lot of great questions. So excited to dive in this week. First one hits us up on Twitter at Alabarski2, writes at Dexter Guff, wondering which diet you follow, keto, slow carb, intermittent fasting, or straight thought dog carbs. Hilarious. I love that. Hashtag thought dog carbs. Don't do that because, of course, that bun turns to pure sugar. Let me tell you what I do, something that I've been noodling with lately, which is just simply grass-fed meat juicing. And what that is you get all of the benefits of those minerals from that meat, but you get none of that meat fat as well. Trying something called cryogenic chamber dining, which is just kind of dropping the actual dining chamber to negative 264 and then just getting my snack on. Okay, Allison Levine writes us on Twitter at Dex Guff. Your podcast is most hilarious thing ever. Caps, love it. I can't believe I get to listen to it for free. You are so awesome, and this is the best. Caps again. Much love right back to you, Allison. Not sure where the humor's coming from, but regardless, I did a bit of a deep dive on Allison. Get this. Author of a New York Times bestselling book, On the Edge. She's climbed Everest, 7 summits, both poles. I mean, this is amazing. This is somebody that I think I've got a lot in common with, only the mountains I'm climbing involve money, and I don't need oxygen. I just need a glass of Chardonnay. Anyways, appreciate the love, Allison. Glad you're listening. And finally, got this from a fan on Apple Podcasts. Threw me a 5-star. Appreciate it. Huge love. Chucks me a 5-star. I love that. Simply, this comes from Virgil in California, who writes, what do we call ourselves? Guffheads? From your mouth to Guff's ears. I love that, Virgil. Guffheads, sure. Let's get guffed up. You're part of the Guff Nation, the Guff Army. I mean, take it all and run with it. All right, so a lot of fun, a lot of good questions this week. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at DexGuff. Also find me on Instagram at DexGuff. Incidentally, some of those pictures on Instagram, blow them up, frame them, get them in your house. That's the kind of thing that can change your life, subconsciously. And then, of course, if you want to send me a longer message, you can go to my website, which is DexterGuffBand.com. And don't you dare send a message about why it's DexterGuffBand.com. Just don't even go there. There's no point. I'm trying to deal with this, but DexterGuffBand.com is my website. All right. Well, that pretty much takes us to the end of today's show. Hope you enjoyed this show. Hope you got a lot from it. Next week, very excited for the show. A lot of interest in this one. A lot of people hitting me up. Just want me to do a show specifically about my LinkedIn profile. So that's what we're doing. So check that out next week. Thursday, it drops. Until then, have a great week. Dex Guff. Out. Hey, Tammy, you think Sharon's going to like that show? Yeah? I hope so.